Here's lesson 7 video, and as you'll see again, we're going to be looking at our place value chart. This time though, we're going to analyze it kind of in a different way. It's kind of interesting. So the one that we're going to start with, this problem at the very top, says strategically decompose 155 using multiple units to round to the nearest 100. And so what we're going to do to start with is we're going to take this and we're going to say we have 155. So when we've been working with numbers and our exponents and things like that, we've been thinking about how we know that if you have 10 tens, you've got 100, right? Because 10 times 10 is the same as 100. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this 100 and I'm going to break it, decompose it, as they say, into 10 tens. I already have 5 tens, so if I take this 100 and I decompose it into 10 tens and I combine it with the 5 tens that are already there, boom, now I have 15 tens. I still have 5 ones that are left over, so I can say I have 15 tens and 5 ones. And if you think about it in terms of money, if you have 15 $10 bills, you have $150. And then if you have 5 ones, you still have $155. It doesn't change. You just took your $100 bill and you turned it into 10 tens to add to the 5 tens you already had. And now you're adding it to your 5 ones. Now, for every one of those $10 bills, for every one of them, you know you can get 10 $1 bills, right? And so I'm going to take these 15 tens and I'm going to get 10 $1 bills for every one of them. So I know now for 10 tens, it's a 100 $1 bills. So 100 $1 bills, and I know I can have 50 $1 bills because I'm going to take 5 tens, and that's going to go 10, 20, 30, I'm counting imaginary money, 40, 50. So now I've got 50 more, and I'm adding it to the 5 I already have. So if I have 155 $1 bills, that's actually the same as having a $100 bill, 5 $10 bills, and 5 ones. 155 ones is the same as 155. So when we're going to start thinking about what this is asking us to do, which was to use multiple units and then round to the nearest 100. So we want to think about how close are we then to the next 100 up. And so if we use a vertical place value chart, that's what this one's called, we know that we had 15 tens. Do you remember that? We had 15 tens. We also had 5 more ones. And so here you'd have 15 tens and 1 1, 2 ones, 3 ones, 4 ones, 5 ones, 6 ones, 7 ones, 8 ones, 9 ones. And so when we look at that, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and when we've got 5 of them, we're halfway there. Here's 6 of them, 7, 8, 9, and then we're at 10. So we can tell that if we're here, we're actually pretty close to this. So if you have, and you're rounding, if you have a 5 in that place value, right here we had 15 tens, we had 5 ones. Here's what it looks like on this place value chart. We've got 15 tens, we have 5 ones. We're close to this one. So if we were going to round 155 or 15 tens and 5 ones, we're pretty close to just 16 tens in that case. And then when you think about it in terms of, here's where we started. We had 100. Oh, but we also had 105 tens. So we're pretty close to having 200s. So here on this one, we rounded to the nearest tens place. So on this one, we would be saying, instead of 15 tens, that we actually have 16 tens. In this case, we're starting with 100, but we actually have 105 tens. Are we closer to 100, or are we closer to 200? And again, 5 is kind of your magic number. It's called the midpoint. And so if you are at the midpoint or above it, you're actually going to round up. So if you have $150, or in our case we even had even more than that, remember? If you've got at least 150, you round up because of the 5 that's in the tens place. So you take a look. If it's asking you to round, you take a look, and if we were going to say round to the nearest tens place, we look to the number to the right of it. It's a 5 or bigger. So if we were going to round to the nearest tens place, this one's going to go up and become 16. If we were thinking, instead of rounding to the nearest tens place, but round to the nearest hundreds place, we are going to say, this is the hundreds place, let's look to the right of it. We do happen to have a 5. So this one, also 2, is going to go up. It's going to get rounded to 200, like that. So another one to take a look at is to strategically decompose 1/57 to the nearest tenth. So in this case, if we have 1 and we happen to have 57 hundredths, and then we're going to be rounding to the nearest tenth. Let's see, if we take our 1s, we know that we can take this 1, break it into 10 pieces. We can add those 10 pieces in here, and then we've got 15 tenths, and we still have that one for our hundredths. And so if we were going to take a look at rounding next, we can say that in this case, let's erase what we've got over here so we can start fresh. We started with, in this case, we had 15 tenths. The next one up is 16 tenths. So let's label it tenths. Let's go ahead and erase this because we're not using it right now. We don't want to get all confused. Too much stuff going on. If we've got 15 tenths and we have 16 tenths. We know that partway in here, 15 tenths, how many hundredths do we have? We know that that halfway mark, then that magic one is going to be 15 and 5 hundredths. When we look at our chart again, we actually had 7 hundredths. So this is 5 hundredths right here, 6 hundredths, 7 hundredths. So 15 and, whoop, can't make an N, not capable, and 7 hundredths. So with that, we know that we are going to end up rounding up to 16 tenths in that case. So that's what they were asking us to take a look at. So what I would like for you to do for this evening, and that's really going to kind of be just one problem, but fairly complex. So you're going to need to do some drawing so that you've got your own number chart. So you can use a ruler for this. You can just use a straight edge. Like, for example, I've got this little notepad here. I could lay that on my paper, use it as a straight edge to make my straight lines. You're going to want to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces here because you need tens, ones, tenths, hundredths, thousandths. You also, too, we have 4 digits in here. And we're going to decompose this. So, for example, you'd have your ones, your tenths, your hundredths, your thousandths. But then you're going to take your ones and say, oh, okay, so I'm going to break each of those into 10 pieces each. So if you have 8 in the ones place, you know that 8 times 10 is 80. You already had 9 in the tens place, so boom, right here, it's going to go from being 8984. This one's going to become 89 tenths. 89 tenths. And then do it again. Take your tenths, break them down again, divide by 10 yet again, and then all of those digits are going to go here. And then break it down again by dividing by 10 yet again. Now all of them are thousandths. How many thousandths would you end up with? Then what you want to think about is if you're rounding to hundredths, think about the number that's here then. Look at it. If it's a 5 or bigger, then you're going to round to the part up here, right? So if you had that, you had in the hundredths place, you have 898 hundredths. 898 hundredths. You only have a 4 in the thousandths place. Is it going to go up to 899 then? Or is it going to stay at 898 hundredths? Because you're rounding to the hundredths place. Now with that idea, now I've kind of explained that a little bit. Once you've got this filled in with your chart and you've kind of decomposed your numbers the way we did, think about rounding to the hundredths like that. Do it again. Tenths, ones, tens. Look to the number. If you're rounding to the nearest tens place, there's nothing there now. Look to the number to the right of it. Is it a 5 or bigger? Is it going to go down and stay the same, or is it going to go up? Think about it. All right. Thanks.